creeps! Andy here! And today I am going to be ranking every book that I read in 2024 from my least favorite to my most favorite, from worst to best, baby. And I have placed all my cozy mysteries on the top so you can't peek, so you can't cheat. So yeah, these are all the books that I read this year. Group hug. And I think there's like, I don't know, 120-ish of them. I'm not going to be able to go into too much detail because there are a lot of books, but you'll know by the placement of where they are how I felt about the book. Although I will say that this is hard to do because a lot of books I rated 4 stars last year. So there are quite a few, you know, there's like a huge pile, 2 piles of just 4-star books. And so I just, instead of being meticulous about it, I just gut reaction, put them in the order that I think I liked them. It's kind of helpful at the end of the year to go back and compare them to other books because then it fits better. So they all might be, you know, this whole pile might be 4-star books, but I still enjoyed some more than others. You get what I'm saying. You know how it works. You rate books the same way. This is my pile of least favorite books of the year. We're gonna start with this one, and I think this is my least favorite book, The Amityville Horror by Jay Anson. It's based on a true story of a family that moved into a house after these horrific murders had taken place. It's absurd. It's ridiculous. There's blood leaking from the walls, and the toilets are filled with black stuff, and we're all levitating, and it's 3 in the morning. It's so silly, but aside from that, I just feel like a bit icky to profit off of the death of young children. Jay Anson, you should be ashamed of yourself. Regardless of if he thought that the Lutz were telling the truth, I still think that he played a part in gaining lots of money off of the backs of dead children, and that's not cool. The next one is Chill Pimple's Splash Squatch. And this one is a story about a man who was in love with someone and then they disappeared and then they come back as a Splash Squatch. I thought we were going to get some Splash Squatch romance in here, and that's not what ended up happening. So it was a little bit disappointing. I think it's like a fun, silly book, but there were just a lot of grammatical errors and things that I wish would have been looked at a bit closer before publication. Kind of the same with this one. This is Flesh Givings by Lady Gorehor. This is about, I don't even really remember, to be honest. It's about a family on Thanksgiving and someone's going around killing them. It's an extreme horror book. I really honestly don't really remember much of this one, but it's here. Next up, we have Joe Nesbo's The Night House. Now this is a popular writer. This is about, I honestly don't even know. It's broken down into 3 different parts, and each part is completely different, and it's kind of one of those books of like, then why did I read the last part if you're going to completely change the book? And I don't know, I either failed to see what was going on in this book, or yeah, I don't know. This is a popular writer. He has books that people really like. This one I did not enjoy. It was more like fever dreamish, but also a lot of shit didn't make sense. It was strange. The next one that I read was Irene I always call it Idle Slay, but I think it's Ide Slay by Amanda McKittrick Ross. This is supposedly one of the worst books ever written, and it's, you know, not my favorite. There's some purple patches in here of description where it's so flowery that you don't really know what the author is even trying to say, although the story is a cohesive story in itself. But it's about this woman who leaves her husband because he's like keeps her locked up in a dungeon, and so she leaves to try to be with someone she's actually in love with, and the moral of the story is like, should have listened to your husband, and just ew, you know. The next one, You Better Watch Out. This is by James S. Murray and Darren Wearmouth. This one is about a group of people who wake up after being abducted in this town, and they don't know how to get out, and they're being killed off one by one, and they don't know why they're there, but they're all bad people. And this one I just felt like it didn't hold my attention. Oh, I have some on the back. Man, I'm probably going to miss some of these. Hopefully I don't miss any of these, but these are the ones that I read on Kindle or audiobook or whatever. So this is All I Want for Christmas Is You. This one is about a man who thinks that he's Santa Claus, or I guess pretends to be Santa Claus in order to hide this darkness inside of him. So he abducts women and tries to make them be his Mrs. Claus, but obviously they're not that into it, so then he kills them. That's an extreme horror book. This is An Extreme Turkey Dinner by C. Commissar, and this is about a woman who invites her family over for Thanksgiving, and she kills them off one by one. It's a little bit more of a family drama. This is The Murder Before Christmas, and this was that cozy mystery that I read. It was about a woman who makes tea, and then this girl comes in and she's like, hey, can you make a tea to make my husband love me again because he's cheating on me? And she's like, I'm not a witch, I'm a tea maker. And then her husband ends up dying, and then for whatever reason that lady's like, hey, I'm gonna hire that tea maker to solve the case of who killed my husband. It just wasn't it didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. And they were long. I mean, you guys know I'm obsessed with these cozy mysteries. So that one, there were just long paragraphs of her interrogating people, even though she's just a tea maker and has nothing to do with the case, doesn't know anybody. It was just kind of a weird setup for a book. Next was Unhinged. This is about the girl who f***ed a door. It's about a sentient door who protects this building, and then it comes to life and does it with the woman who owns the house. Yep, that's a real book I read. Honestly, wasn't bad. It was pretty well written and kind of funny. But this book, Stephen King's Thinner, this may have been one of my least favorite Stephen King books, honestly, that I read. It's about a man who does something terrible to a group of gypsies. That's the term that's used in the book. And he gets off. He doesn't go to jail or anything for what he's done. He gets off, and so the gypsies curse him, and he keeps losing weight. So I liked the idea of it, like the scales of justice versus a literal scale. It's clever. And the first half of the book I enjoyed, but the second half I was not as entertained. The second half's kind of told weird, where some guy will go he like hires someone to fuck with the gypsies, and they'll come back and for 10 pages he'll be like, this is how I messed with the gypsies, and also you do something bad to a dog, I just don't like you. So though that is the pile of my kind of, I guess, least favorite books. But let's move on to this guy. Oh gosh. Oh. Next was Shotgun Nun by Harrison Phillips. This one, there wasn't anything necessarily wrong with it. It's just like a revenge story of a nun, but I really thought it was going to be funny. And so it wasn't, and so I was disappointed. It's not anything that the author did. It was my own expectations in my head, but that was an extreme horror book. Oh gosh. Next I have Girls Against God by Jenny Haval. This one was interesting to read, but it had no plot, and so it was very hard to follow along. They're like eating with demons, and then they turn into spaghetti, and then they eat the demon spaghetti, and then they're in a forest and some man gives birth to an egg, and that, like, it's just all very strange and weird and fragmented, and I'm sure that there's stuff below the surface here, but I did not understand what was going on. Then I have Plowed by the Pumpkin King. This one's kind of self-explanatory. It's about a woman who gets plowed by a pumpkin king. It's an erotic story. Then we have Irene, and this one also didn't have a plot, and it was hard to follow. I think, for me at least, the story is about a man who goes and has intercourse with like a woman at a brothel kind of thing, and then he gets syphilis and then kind of loses his mind, I think, but also couldn't tell you if that's what really happened or not. The next one I have is Day of the Door. This one was it was interesting to read, and it was about these people who grew up in this house, and some bad things happen, and so part of the family believes that it was ghosts, and the other part of the family believes that it was their brother that did something bad. So it's a family drama, and it was entertaining at times, but it just wasn't for me. And the next one was Camp Damascus. This is by Chuck Tingle, and it was his first non-erotic novel that he ever published. So like it was really interesting to read. It was about a camp who tries to, I forget the word, but they try to make you straight. I liked the idea, but without getting too into it, the plot isn't what I typically enjoy reading. I'll just say that. So it's not that I hated the book or anything. It just, again, like wasn't a book for me. Next is Hexes by Charlene Ellsby. This one was interesting. It was about a woman who continually kills the same man over and over again in different ways. Okay, she has her PhD in philosophy, so there's a lot of philosophical stuff in there that I am too stupid to get. So to me, I was a little bit more confused reading that one than one of her other books, which comes up here later. Next was How to Lose an Extraterrestrial in 10 Days. Really? I liked this one more than that one? Okay. I'm gonna say that these two were probably switched, but whatever. This is about a woman who falls in love with an extraterrestrial man and they have an out of this world love affair. Yep, that's a book I read. Next is Alice Feeney's His and Hers. This one a little bit made me mad, and don't get me wrong, I do enjoy some of Alice Feeney's books. This was my least favorite of the books that I've read from her. It's about a man and a woman. The woman is a reporter, the man is a detective. They find themselves, does it tell you? No, it doesn't really give anything away. So I guess that's where I'll stop. They're investigating a murder, but they're more involved than what you would initially think, just being a reporter and a detective. This one, the killer was a little outrageous for me. Some of the motivations were a little outrageous. It didn't make a whole lot of sense. This one was not my favorite. Next, Someone We Know by Sherry Lapina. This one was about a young boy who breaks into people's houses and goes on their computers to try to find stuff out about them. And while this is happening, there's a murder in the town, or a missing woman who turns up to be murdered. And it's kind of weird because all of the people on the street just start thinking that their own husbands murdered the woman. And I just felt like, I don't know, I'm a married woman and it would take a lot for me to think that my husband killed some random person on our street. But it was just weird how quickly all the women were like, maybe my husband did it. And I also didn't love the way that it was written. Like, here's just one paragraph. He's going to retrieve the phone and drive a couple of hours north to a deserted place he knows. He's going to wipe it clean. He's going to toss it in the river. He's going to do this. He's going to do that. It's just, it just wasn't my favorite writing style of hers. Sometimes her books work for me, sometimes they don't. This is The Myth of Sisyphus by Albert Camus. This, again, some of these books are just hard to rate because this one's not really a novel either. It's kind of just his philosophical ponderings on suicide and life. And so it's like not really a book, you know? It was still interesting to read, and there's a lot that I highlighted in here, but it's not the same way that I would enjoy a novel, you know? Next up, Survive the Night by Riley Sager. This one I still don't know if I loved or hated. I'm just going to be so honest with you, because there are sometimes I'm like, no, I really like that book, and sometimes I'm like, maybe not. But now this is my least favorite, I think, of his, so I don't know why this one's here. See, sometimes I don't make any sense, but this is about a girl, she's going home, and so she gets like a ride share to go home. Her friend has been murdered on campus, there's a killer on the loose, and she just wants to go home. But while she's in the car with this man, she's starting to believe that maybe he is the campus killer. See, it's a cool plot, and there are just some things, there's some things I really liked about it, and some things that just didn't work for me. And so I don't know where to put this one, but I would say Middle of the Night is, I think, my least favorite. So I don't know why that one's here, whatever. The next one is The Christmas Guest by Peter Swanson. This is about a young girl. She's an American, but she's in England. And so one of her friends asks her to go to the English countryside. She kind of falls in love with her brother, but her brother's being investigated for a murder. Dun dun dun. And this book is weird because the premise is cool, but you get to a certain point and they're just like, oh, this is what happened. And there's no mystery, there's no thriller, like just a version where they just tell you the synopsis, but you don't get to experience it yourself. The writing wasn't bad or anything, but it just threw me off a little. Oh yeah, a little bit. The next was Christmas Presents. This is by Lisa Unger. This is another one that is short, and I think that that's why I didn't enjoy it as much. It was about a woman who got hurt by an ex-boyfriend in high school who ended up murdering her friends, but there are still some pieces of the puzzle that they don't have all of the answers to. And a guy who runs a podcast comes in to try to solve what happened or try to fill in kind of those blank areas. They don't want the past dug up. This one too, it wasn't terrible, but there were just some weird parts of it. The red herring thing was weird. The way they figured out kind of the twist, it was like, oh, it's probably this. And you're just like, oh, okay. I don't know. It just felt very anticlimactic for a thriller book. And I think, again, that was from how short it was. The next is My Vagina Smells Like Sulfur. This is by C. Commissar. This is about a group of people who makes dark web videos, and they get more and more intense. It's an extreme horror book, but it turns out being like less about that and more about the people there. But there are some like actually really gross scenes that happen in that book. Next, Hi, I'm a Social Disease. This cover is so awesome. I love it. And it's a bunch of short stories, and I got a little feel for the author's writing in them, and some of the stories I was really interested in them, and then others I was kind of indifferent about. But it's kind of hard to make a snap judgment on an author from a book of short stories for me personally. The next one is Ex-Boogeyman by Christopher Triana. This was just kind of a fun little slasher. It's about two sisters who are going to stay at this white rafting kind of resort thing. I guess it's not a resort, it's more like a camp. But there was a horror movie series that was filmed at that camp, and they're trying to remake it. So they have scouts on the scene from that. They also have people who are fans of the previous movies that are at that camp as well. And then the man who played the villain, Nicky Hector, that's the bad guy. The man who plays him finds that they're replacing him, and they're kind of going a whole different direction. And his personality fuses with Nicky, and he becomes this ultra-violent killer like his character, and goes back to the camp and just murders everyone. It's a fun book. It honestly does feel like a slasher movie. The next one is T. Kingfisher's A House with Good Bones. This one, I really liked how it was written. I loved the main character. There were tons of things that I liked about this book. It's about a woman who goes back home. She's staying with her mom and kind of worried that her mom's losing her mind a little bit because she keeps talking about ghosts in the house. And the woman who goes to stay with her mom is like an archaeologist or something. And so there's a lot of like bug and animal related stuff in here. And again, there's a lot of stuff that I really liked, but it is more fantasy. So I think that's why it's not higher on the list. There's nothing wrong with it. There's a beautiful writing, interesting characters, interesting concept. It was just the fantasy elements. Like when you have flower people, I kind of start to be like, oh, this isn't a book for me kind of thing. But otherwise, I really enjoyed that, and I do look forward to reading more of her work. Next is Halloween Fiend. This was just a little short story about a town that's scared of this creature that lives in the town, and they have to leave out sacrifices for it every night. They're trying to find a way, the kids in town are trying to find a way to get rid of it. It's just like a cute little novella. Next we have Middle of the Night by Riley Sager. This is, I think this is my least favorite Riley Sager. I feel like the other one should be like after this. I don't know. Sometimes it's hard ranking books. I did the best I could, okay? But this one is about a man who's moved back into his parents' house because his parents have retired, so he's kind of taking the house over. But since he's back in that house, he's reliving these terrible things that happened when he was a boy. Him and his friend were sleeping in a tent one night, and the tent was ripped open, and his friend was abducted, and he doesn't know what happened, and he obviously carries a lot of guilt and questions from what happened to his friend. And so it's like a whole journey of trying to figure out what happened that night. And I'm not sure if I didn't connect with this book as much because it's the first Riley Sager book where there's a male main character, or if it was just not as active as a lot of his other books were. Most of them have more going on, and although there were multiple timelines, most of the story just takes place in that guy's house in his head. And so it's not, I feel like for me personally, not as entertaining as some of the other books. But I am curious how guys would feel about this book. Like maybe men connected to this story more because it was his first character that was male. I don't know. I'm curious what you guys think of that one. But otherwise, let's move on to our next pile. Next up, Beast of Burden by Judith Sonnet. This was about a band that's having issues, and they decide to go into the woods and take some pictures. And there's more in the woods than they were expecting. I don't remember a whole lot because I read that one so long ago, but I do have an extreme horror reading blog that's coming out, and that one's in it. Next is The Fog by James Herbert. This one, there were a lot of things that I liked about it. It's about this fog that rolls in, and wherever it touches, it makes people kind of lose their mind, and they either harm themselves or harm other people. So it's just kind of 200 pages of people either harming themselves or killing other people. It's fun, you know, it's fun. The only thing is there's not really a bunch of character development because you get to know a character and just know that they're gonna die off. And it doesn't really wrap back around a lot. I would say the last maybe 50 to 100 pages is just the government trying to trap the fog, and it's not as entertaining as the rest of the story, but I still enjoyed it. And yeah, I still liked it. Next is The Bad Seed by William March, and this is about a little girl who does terrible things. She's a bad seed, and her mom kind of plays dumb and pretends and that she doesn't know what's going on. I mean, she's trying to protect her, but at the same time she also has to come to terms with the fact that her daughter is this evil creature. So yeah, this was an interesting one to read. Never Lie. I had to look this one up because I didn't even remember. Okay, this is Never Lie by Frida McFadden. This book was fine. I read it on, or I listened to it on Audible, and it was a good Audible book. Nothing crazy, you know, like definitely not the best thriller book I've ever read, and predictable at times. The ending was a little weird, but it was basically about this man and a woman who are going to see a house. They're going house hunting, but it's in the middle of a storm and they get snowed in, and then they're stuck in the house and they start discovering things slowly about the woman who previously lived there that disappeared. So it was fine. It was a fine book. Yeah, it was fine. I thought it was an easy read, and it was a perfect Audible book to listen to because there weren't a lot of characters, there wasn't a crazy amount of plot, so it was just a good Audible book. Next, I have Roderick Thorpe's Nothing Lasts Forever. This is the book that Die Hard is based on. I did a whole movie verse book on this, and this was quite interesting to read. I don't know if I would have enjoyed it as much if it wasn't the movie that Die Hard was based on. But because it was, and because I got to compare the two and really see where those characters started from, I was just like, what is happening? Because it is so unbelievably different. He goes to his daughter's work for a party, and then a group of terrorists comes in and he tries to fight them. But wow, is this so different than Die Hard? Go watch that video if you're interested to know the differences. Next was Horror Movie by Paul Tremblay. This is about a group of students that are making this horror movie, and I mean, the cover is just fantastic. Here's the thing, for a book called Horror Movie that's about a horror movie, it had very little horror in it. It's not really all that creepy, and I get that it's like a group of pretentious students and they're trying to make this film and they think it's the best thing ever, and really it's just whatever, but it's also just not as entertaining as some of other Paul Tremblay's books. It ends up being that they get a cult following from the clips online that the movie has accumulated, but the full movie hasn't been set out. So now movie producers are coming in and they want to remake the movie. So they have the only living guy left to kind of consult. And I felt a little bit like it was Paul Tremblay's middle finger to Hollywood, which I think is hilarious. And on that principle alone, I think the book is worth reading. However, I understand why people have mixed feelings on this one, and I kind of have mixed feelings on it as well. There are a few creepy scenes, and it's not that I was bored reading it, but I was just like, for a movie called Horror Movie, there's just not a lot of horror, you know? Next is The Woman in Black by Susan Hill. It's about a man he's a solicitor, who's going to a woman's house to get her paperwork in order after she's died, but everyone that he runs into and he tells where he's going to, they're all very creeped out and weirded out by him going there, but no one really tells him anything. He starts seeing this woman in black, and he returns home, and it's creepy. It's pretty atmospheric, fun story, and I enjoyed the ending. Oh, next I have Vi. This was an interesting read. Glad I read it. It's an old book. It's about a man who is asked to come to the church and sit with the body of a girl who has died. The request is from her father, but every time he goes to her, she raises from the grave. And so you have 3 consecutive nights of that. It's creepy and fun. I'm not exactly sure I would have to read it multiple times to really get a feel for it, but I enjoyed reading it. The next, The Eyes Are the Best Part by Monica Kim. This is about a young girl who's dealing with the divorce of her parents. She's a really unreliable narrator, and so you can't quite believe anything that she's saying. She has dreams of eating eyeballs, and she's also just kind of a shitty person, not good to her friends, not great to her family. She's just a very weird choice for a main character that I think was automatically intriguing for me, and it made me read the book probably a lot different than a lot of people read it, but I definitely saw her as an unreliable narrator and did not trust a word that she was saying throughout the whole story. And it does focus a lot on, you know, her parents being immigrants and what that life is like for them and things like that, but also just her spiral into being even more unreliable. I did like the story. I thought the ending was a bit rushed, and I did have some questions, but that was one of our book club picks this year. Next up, The Hollow Dead. This is Gravekeeper number 4 series by Darcy Coates. The 5th one actually just came out that you guys told me, so I have to pick that one up. But this is about a girl. Oh my god, I cannot stop yawning. It's driving me crazy. This is about a girl who wakes up in the woods. She has no memory of who she was, but she finds a group of people to kind of bring her in and help her, and she slowly starts to uncover her past. Oh, she can also see ghosts, and so she tries to help them over to the other side as well. That one we get more information on who she is and where she came from. Next is The Last Town by Blake Crouch. This is the 3rd in the series, and the pacing just felt off in the 2nd and 3rd book. I felt like the first one did a pretty good job of unraveling where the story started. The second one was pretty mild, and then this one had like 87 plot things going on, and I was just like, whoa, guys. Whoa. And everything just wrapped up so quickly, so fast, in a perfect little bow that I was like, I don't know, the pacing of this one felt off. It's about a man who goes to a town and they won't let him leave. Either they are keeping him in or keeping something else out, and he has to figure out what. That's the plot of the first book, but obviously I can't give you the plot of that one or it would kind of ruin what else is going on. Rachel Harrison's Cackle. This one's about a woman who is broken up with after a long-term relationship. She moves to a new town, gets a new job. She makes friends with a witch in town that everyone's very fearful of. And it's, you know, a social commentary on how women are perceived in society if they're not married, if they don't have kids, if they're of a certain age. They're kind of seen as these black sheep. But it's really cute in a lot of ways. But I did have some questions about, like, I liked that concept of it. But also, I felt like the witch was a little manipulative, and I don't know if the main character was really making decisions for herself. And so I had a few questions about that, but still an enjoyable, cute read about, you know, being a woman. This is The Hunting Party by Lucy Foley. This is, I think it's one of my lesser favorite Lucy Foley books, but that's because her other books are super high on my list. But this is about a group of friends that goes out and stays in, a remote Scottish wilderness. They are friends from a long time ago, and they come together every New Year's for a celebration. You also do find out in the beginning that somebody has died, and throughout the book you're getting a little bit more information. But I'll say that I still enjoyed this read, obviously, but you can see Lucy Foley's growth as an author is so impressive, this compared to a book like The Midnight Feast. So I think that's why it's here on my list. And I read the guest list before I read that one, even though that one came out first, I'm pretty sure. And so yeah, still enjoyable, not a bad book or anything, but just not as good as some of the other books that I've read from her. Next up, Candy King Kills by Brian McCauley. This is just a cute horror story. It's about a family who rents a cabin. Something terrible happened there in the past, and they must come face to face with Candy Cane. And she's like this urban legend of the town. It's cute, it's Christmassy, it's horror. You can't go wrong with that one. Next was Rest Stop by Nat Cassidy. This one's about a man who is stuck in a bathroom and not being able to leave because there's a killer outside a bathroom at a rest stop. And the killer's just kind of fucking with him. And you get a little bit more thin surface level with this one. It's definitely about different traumatic experiences faced by different generations and how they're not always equal, but that doesn't invalidate what each person experiences and how that changes them and how they cope with things like that. So I don't know, I enjoyed that one. A quick short read. The next one was Simone St. James's Murder Road. This one is about, oh my gosh, I don't even remember. I read this so long ago. It's about, oh yeah, a man and a woman. They're on, I think their honeymoon, and they pick up a hitchhiker. Someone's following them, and they end up going to a hospital because the hitchhiker's hurt and she ends up dying. So the cops kind of make them not leave town, and they're questioned about who they, like where they picked her up, who they are, why they were passing through. And it turns out to be more intricate than that. The only thing I'll say about this one is because I do typically like Simone St. James books, her ghost stories usually take a back seat, and they're usually just to enhance the story a little bit. This one is just a ghost story through and through. And so I didn't like this one as much as her other books. Next was Ghost Camera. This is by Darcy Coates. And this is just a bunch of short stories and then the novella Ghost Camera. Ghost Camera wasn't even my favorite read of the book, if I'm honest. But that is just about a camera that when you take pictures, it shows dead people. And they keep getting like closer and closer to you and stuff. But there's a bunch of stuff in here. A woman survives a plane crash. A house stands empty, hungry. A woman finds a shoebox filled with old VHS tapes. And so there's some creepy, fun stories in here. Short story books aren't always my favorite, but I like Darcy Coates' short stories. They're fun and creepy. And The Black Farm. This is by, is it Elias Withrow? This is about a man and a woman who decide to off themselves so that they can be taken out of the misery that they're in. But once they're in this kind of purgatory state, they want to get back out. And so they fight like hell in this horrible hell-like environment to try to get out of there. It's original, it's dark, it's interesting. Next is Final Girls by Riley Sager. This is about a woman who survived a horrific attack. All of her friends were murdered in a cabin, and she's dubbed a final girl by the press. There are a few others that have come before her. There's a woman who survived attack in a motel and a woman who survived attack at a sorority house. So the girls have never met before, but you know, they're all final girls in their own way. When one of the final girls ends up being murdered, the other two final girls come together to try to figure out if it's something that they should be concerned about, if it's someone that's after them. It seems really cool, and it is a cool concept, but it's much more about the relationship between those girls and who our main character, Quincy, is as a person than it really is about the past. I mean, obviously it's about the past, but what I'm saying is you don't get a crazy amount of detail about the motel or the sorority house, which I thought would have been really cool to get more of those scenes. And then we do get uncovered scenes of Quincy's disaster slowly throughout the story because she doesn't quite remember everything that happened that night. Next up, We Can Build You by Philip K. Dick. This is about a company who makes pianos, I think, and they end up changing and starting to make these AI robots of Abraham Lincoln and Edwin M. Stanton. And it's kind of just an interesting analysis on what it means to be human. And it's Philip K. Dick. I mean, you know, he's the shit. Next up, I Found You by Lisa Jewell. Yes, I really liked this one. So I accidentally got two Lisa Jewell books mixed up. So this one's actually supposed to go way in the front of my list of books that I read. The front cover is both blue, so I just got confused. But I realized that way later. But just so you know, this one I really, really enjoyed. This was about a woman who lives on a seaside town. A seaside town. Yeah, in a bay. Does that mean the ocean? Seaside? Is the sea the same as the ocean? Yeah, sitting on a beach. Whew. It's about a woman who lives by the ocean. She finds a man on the beach who cannot remember who he is, where he got, or how he got there, anything. So she ends up taking him in. Then there's also this woman whose husband is missing, And then there's also these young kids who stayed in that same town years prior on family vacations, and how they interacted with this creepy guy, and how all the stories kind of wrap back up into one. I liked this one. I thought it was great. I mean, I really enjoy Lisa Jewell books. Somebody commented and said, Lisa Jewell books don't feel like thrillers, and I think that's maybe why I like them, because they are thriller books, but they're not disappointing the way that I feel like a lot of thriller books are. But I obviously have opposite opinions on people about thrillers. Speaking of which, this is One by One by Ruth Ware, and this is, I think, one of her lower rated books, or at least not her highest rated books, but I think this one is definitely one of my favorites. But I really enjoyed this one. It's about a company, and they're going to a skiing resort. They're trying to manipulate someone because there's deals that need to be made and money's on the line, and they get snowed in, and people start getting killed off one by one. I think, if I remember correctly, that's what happens. And so they're trying to figure out who did it. But I liked this one. I thought it was fun. I was not disappointed at all. So there's that pile. Let's move on to the next. Oh, jeez. Okay, guys, we might be here all night because we still have probably half the books to get through. Okay. Next up, Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton. This one was definitely interesting to see where Jurassic Park came from. A lot of things different, characters are different, how everybody's killed is different, the experience is different. Obviously the same general concept, everyone knows what Jurassic Park's about, but a lot different from the movies. Like, I was surprised how different the book was, and not the loving characters of the film at all. Next up, everyone's kind of annoying in that one. Next up, Comfort Me with Apples. This is by Catherine M. Valenti. And this is about a woman who's stuck in this gated community. Her husband is gone a lot. It feels very fairy tale mixed with Stepford Wives kind of thing. She meets with the other people of the neighborhood. Her furniture is really large. Like, there's a lot of weird stuff going on, and I can't get too into what it is. I'm sure if you read it, you'll figure it out. But anyways, it was an interesting story. The only thing I'll say is that I, again, found it on a list of disturbing books, and it's not horror. It's not at all what I was expecting, and I don't know that disturbing is the right word. Interesting, I would say. Next, The Mummy by Anne Rice. I enjoyed this one. I thought that this one was fun. She was asked to write the screenplay for The Mummy. She wrote a screenplay based off of this book, and they were like, no, this sucks. And so they ended up writing that Brendan Fraser movie, and then she got pissed off that they wouldn't take her script, and then she turned it into the book. So that's why we have this. It's about a guy who digs up a mummy and then dies shortly after. The mummy is sent to his daughter's house, resurrects, and falls in love with her, and she falls in love with him. Although I don't know if love is the right word. He doesn't really treat her that great, if I'm completely honest. And so I thought it was going to be more like I was rooting for the mummy, but he did piss me off a lot. He slept with an entire brothel one night. But anyways, it's still interesting. I still enjoyed it. And yeah, I had a lot of fun with this. Next up is The Tent. This is about a family that goes camping. It's a short little novella. There's a storm, and so they have to leave their tent, and they lose their son. And so they're panicking about their son, but then they come face to face with something much darker. Then I have Skin. This is about a guy who does taxidermy, and he has brought a young girl that her parents want her to be taxidermy because she died young, and he just can't help but be creepy with her. Next is Sour Candy. This one is just a fun, creepy little story. It's about a man who sees a child screaming in a store. He ends up getting into a car accident and kind of being pulled into an alternate reality where that kid is now his. It's interesting and creepy. Next, Dead Leaves. This is by Keelan Patrick Burke. That's the same writer of Sour Candy, and maybe even Tent. I don't remember. But this is just a bunch of short stories that kind of take place around Halloween. I wouldn't say they're Halloween stories. It's just kind of like, oh, this happened around Halloween. But yeah, a lot of them are cute and fun, and I enjoyed that book. Next, Intercepts by T.J. Payne. This is about a guy who works at a facility. There are people in that facility. They're kept kind of in this limbo state as experiments. Oh, like sensory deprivation. The test subjects went violently insane, but the research continued. Today, it has been perfected, almost perfected. So you just kind of go on why they're holding these people, what they're trying to do, if these people really are just test subjects, if they can really not feel pain. It's an interesting book, for sure. Next up, Everyone is Watching by Heather Gudenkauf. I really liked this one too, although I will say my friend watched it and he's like, this is for people who don't watch reality television, which I don't, so maybe that's why I enjoyed it so much. But it's about this reality TV show where they're winning like $60 million or something absolutely crazy. So the stakes are really high. So I feel like it makes sense for the people to be okay with things that are going on. But basically they each show up one by one and they have to compete, and the competition's real danger is there. And they aren't told ahead of time. It's not like a typical environment that you would film a reality show on. You know, it's much more dangerous. But again, the stakes are so high, they're more willing to do it. But things get dangerous, and then you start to question why those people were chosen for it and why they're there and who's running it. And I felt like it was interesting, a little, I think, obvious what was going on for part of it, but otherwise I enjoyed this story. I thought it was fun. I'm talking so much, my voice hurts. Next, The Halloween Tree by Ray Bradbury. This is just so cute. It's about these group of kids that are going trick-or-treating, and one of their friends gets swooped away, and they meet a man that can follow him into the past, where they kind of learn little bits about Halloween each time they land in places, and the places that they land correspond to the outfits of the children on Halloween. It's a fucking cute story. It's cute. Next is Daisy Darker. This is by Alice Feeney, and this is an Alice Feeney book that's like creepy and fun, and I enjoyed this one. It feels very And Then There Were None. It's about this Darker family who is staying on this island, and when the tide is high, they can't leave the island, so they get stuck there, and they're dying off one by one, and they don't know who's doing it. It's really interesting. It's one of those where you just kind of have to read it, but it's fun and creepy, and it leaves you guessing, and I really enjoyed it. Next, Here Comes Santa Claus. This was the extreme horror book. I think this is the Edward Lee book that I read about this darker Santa that comes to town. Well, he kind of abducts the regular Santa Claus, and he turns everything darker, and he sends out toys that poison children, and his elves are evil. It's just cute. It's cute and fun. Next was Agatha Christie's, I don't remember how to say this guy's name, but That Detective's Christmas. And this, again, it was just a cute whodunit story. He, the detective, goes and stays at a family's house, and during Christmas time, the head of the family gets killed off, and they're trying to figure out who did it. And the detective saves the day, as always. Next up, Home is Where the Bodies Are by Geneva Rose. I adored this book. I know some of you guys didn't like it, you've told me, and that's totally fine, but this book I connected with so much. But anyways, it's about a woman who's taking care of her sick mother, and she's not getting a whole lot of help, and everything's kind of falling on her shoulders. And when her mother ends up passing away, her brother and sister come into town. Her sister has a drug problem. Her brother just kind of thinks that he's better than everyone because of the money, or at least that's her perception, because of the money that he makes. And again, it's kind of all on her to figure things out. They end up finding a videotape. Actually, is that giving too much away? Hold on. They play the videotape and they see their parents and a dead body. And so they don't know what happened, and they don't know if their parents were involved, and so they do more digging to try to figure out what happened. I really enjoyed this book. Let me grab the next row. Holy crap, we're getting there, guys. Oh! Next up, Wayward by Blake Crouch. This is the second in the Wayward series. This is, I already told you about the guy that's in that town, and he just is trying to figure out what's going on more and more. You know, yeah, whatever. Okay. Not Forever But For Now by Chuck Palahniuk. I loved this book. This is dark, this is gross, this is fucking weird. It's one of his more strange novels, I'm not gonna lie, but I really enjoyed it. It's about two brothers. Their grandpa wants the older one to take over the family business, but they're just juvenile and they don't know what they're doing, and they've kind of always been given everything that they needed. So they just kill people and it gets figured out, and they don't ever be held responsible for their actions. And it's just weird. It's a weird book and I liked it. Next is The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. And this is about a young woman whose husband, no, she killed her husband. She killed her husband? Yeah. So she kills her husband. She goes to an institute because she never talks after that. So she has a psychiatrist kind of guy come in because he wants to help her and get her to speak again. And he starts, you know, digging more and more into the case, and then you learn more about what's going on. It is a good book, but I feel like had some pretty big flaws that people are just okay looking over. And so, yeah, definitely not my favorite thriller ever written, but it is a good book. Next is this guy by Urs Alman. This is, again, more of a philosophical text. It won some awards, and it's about a man who may or may not have done this. Okay, next up, To Be Devoured by Sarah Tantlinger. This is about a relationship between two women. One of the women is kind of spiraling, the other one's kind of stepping back and a little bit concerned about what's going on. The one who's spiraling has had some past issues and is just getting more and more unhinged. It's an interesting story. Next we have Sakulina. That's by Philip Fracassi, and that's a short novella about a family who goes fishing, and these things, kind of like barnacles, keep attaching themselves to the ship, to people, and it's dangerous and they can't get out, and it's more really about guilt and grief and dealing with the loss of a loved one than anything else. Next is House of Incest. This is by Anais Nin. This is actually like a stream of consciousness type story that I did enjoy, but it's more about, I guess, like, yes, it talks about incest kind of, but it's more about your relationship with yourself and how that's important, but how it also can be dangerous if that's all you focus on. It's an interesting story, beautifully written. Some of my favorite quotes ever in literature are out of that book. Next, I have Lisa Jewell's The Night She Disappeared. Again, I really like Lisa Jewell books. This one is about a woman. Wait, guys, I messed up because the I Found You, I mixed up with this one. This one should have been in that place, and I Found You should have been here, but they're both blue and they're both by Lisa Jewell. So I fucked up. So anyways, this one I liked. This is my least favorite Lisa Jewell book, The Night She Disappeared. And then I Found You should have been in this place. I apologize. That's the one about the woman by the seaside. So sorry. But this one is about a girl and a guy. They're young. They have a kid at like 18. They live with her mom, and then they disappear one night. So the mom is just in charge of raising the kid. She doesn't know what happened. Then there's a woman and a man who are dating. They move into this house, or like this boarding school kind of thing, where the boyfriend is teaching. That woman starts uncovering things about the missing kids that had gone missing however many years prior, and so she meets the mom, and then the story continues from there. This is my least favorite. I'm so sorry. I did switch that one. Next was Maggie's Grave by David Sodergren. This is just a fun bloody time. This is about a witch that gets resurrected in the craziest way ever and just wreaks havoc on this old Scottish town. It's just a fun bloody mess. Next up is Augustina Baz Chirica's 19 Claws and a Blackbird. This is just her book of short stories, and again, I did really enjoy this book, but sometimes it's hard with short stories because you don't get to sit and analyze them as much as you can with a whole novel. So I did enjoy that one, but I'm really excited for her new novel that's coming out. The next is The Willows. This is an older book, and I really enjoyed this one. It was creepy, it was fun. It was about these two guys who are camping, and they end up camping in a place. Man, what even happens in the story? It's from 1907. Isn't that crazy? So they start getting weirded out by the trees that are surrounding them. Oh yeah, and just some weird stuff happens. But it's a fun, creepy story, especially from the early 1900s. Very impressive. Next up, we have Paradise Rot. This is by Jenny Haval, and this is a pretty fucking interesting story about the relationship between two women. They end up moving in together and kind of create this ecosystem in their house. It is such a weird, interesting story, and I think it's just about the relationship between the two women, the relationship between the men and the woman, like the men in her life and the woman, and then just, yeah, the whole ecosystem and the thing that they create inside the house. It's a cool book. I want to reread that one again. Next up, First Lie Wins. This one, here's the thing. I think I really did enjoy this book. I think I did. But I read it, I listened to it on Audible, and I stopped for months. And then I picked it back up again, and I was like, I think that ending was really cool and satisfying, but I don't really remember. I don't really remember the beginning because I listened to it. I took such a long break listening to it, which is so dumb. But I think that was a really cool book, and I'm excited to pick up other books from that writer if they have any other ones. I'm not sure. I will have to look. Next is Sewer Sharks. Loved this book. This was perfect. This was amazing. I had such a blast with this book. It's about sharks in the sewer, and they can come through your pipelines and eat you, and it's such a silly B horror film in book form, but well written and super entertaining. And there's like these people in the swamps that worship this gator god, and there's this new girl in town, and she's trying to study this certain shark. It's so fun. It's fun. It's good. It's well written. I really enjoyed that one. Next up, we have In Their Eyes by Thomas More. This one is a gross, sad book, but it's, I think, more about the relationships between men and dating as a gay man, and it goes into some detail. This is not for the faint of heart, but it really is just like their lack of connection in this book, and they're only down for hookups, and they don't really care about each other, and it's sad. It's sad. It's a good book. It's sad but good. Next is Closer. This again is about kind of the relationships between gay men as well, but it's about this one character. He is trying to do his best to find people to connect to, and most of them are just kind of too busy with their own shit to connect to him. So yeah, it's again a sad story. Next, A Night in the Lonesome October. This is a cute book. This one's really cute. It's a little science fiction tale about these, I don't know, they all have these powers, and they're all trying to do something. So they're people, but they all have little animals that follow them. And so it's told through the perspective of a dog. So there's a man who's running this game, but then it's told through the dog's perspective. And you're told kind of like, oh, they need to collect starlight, and so one night they go out and collect starlight, and they need to do this and that, and so they're getting all of their things ready for this game, and there are openers of the game and closers of the game, and it's an important game to play, and you're just trying to figure out more information with them. But it's a really cute book. Next, we have Violent Faculties. This is another Charlene Ellsby book, and this one I loved. It is fucked up, it is disgusting, and I don't obviously know everything that's going on in this book, because again, it's very philosophical, but at least with this one, I feel like she gives you the layman terms for a lot of things. But it's basically about this woman who worked at the philosophy department, I think, and it's being closed down, and so she's trying to prove to the facility that it's necessary, but she does all these experiments and murders people, and like I said, it's gross, it's fucked up, it's weird, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a blast. Next is Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. Fuck you, Heathcliff. And this is about a man who goes and rents a house from Heathcliff, and he learns through the maids and other people around Heathcliff's story, and he is just a fucking bastard. I fucking hate Heathcliff. I don't know if I've ever hated anyone as much as I hate Heathcliff. It's basically just how Heathcliff ruins everyone's life. I hate him. I'm getting tired of my own voice. Next, Bone White by Ronald Malfi. This is about two brothers. One of them has gone missing. He was in this small town in Alaska and then just never heard from again. They're twins. The other brother, Paul is somewhere in the States, the continental US, and he finds that that little town that his brother went missing in, that a man has come forward and said that he's murdered a bunch of people and shown the officers the graves of those people. So they're being dug up slowly, one by one. So Paul ends up flying to the town knowing that his brother is somewhere in those graves because he had gone missing. He goes to the town. They're very hesitant to speak to anyone outside the town, very superstitious. It's just like a weird, creepy thing. This book is creepy and fun. It reminded me a little bit of Pet Sematary, although not in that way, not in like the resurrecting the dead way, but it's a fun ride. It's a fun ride. Love that book. Next, Stepford Wives by Ira Levin. And I mean, I'm sure everybody knows what this is about. A family that moves to Stepford and the wives are all perfect, and the woman notices and is weirded out by it and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. I feel like I viewed that one a little bit differently than the movies kind of take on it. One day I'll do a movie versus book. Okay, then She Was Gone by Lisa Jewell. This one is sad. This is about a young girl who goes missing, and it's about the family's life afterwards. The mom ends up finally, well, the mom and the dad divorce, and, you know, kind of like the stress that it caused on the family. The mom ends up finding someone else to date, and his daughter reminds her a lot of her own daughter. And she ends up connecting to this little girl, but then we also go back and forth and get more information on what actually happened to her daughter. It's fun. It's sad. It's a good thriller. Next, Monstrillo by Gerardo Simano Cordova. Loved this one. And this is about, again, a mother and father who lose a young child, and the mother's inability to let him go. She takes a piece of his lung and grows it into this little monster to keep with them. It really is at its core just about grief, and it's an interesting snapshot on how each of the family members deals with grief very differently. But also, there's more to the story than just that. It's also about coming into your own and sexuality and being who you are, and there's a lot going on in this guy. Next up, we have Lisa Jewell's The Family Upstairs. Loved this one. This is about a woman who, once she turns, was it 25? She inherits a house from her real family. She was adopted as a baby. And it turns out that she was the only one found at the house that was alive, but it was like a murder-suicide kind of thing. So we go back in time and see what the family life was like growing up there and how they were in kind of like this weird cultish environment. And then we follow Libby kind of investigating the house. And then we also have another story of a woman who's down on her luck with her children. And then, of course, all the stories come and wrap back around. Lisa Jewell has a good way of having a bunch of stories and they all connect somehow in the end. And yeah, they're fun. Next up here, we have Richard Lehman's The Cellar. I really like this one too. This one's fucked up. Like, if you are sensitive to children's stuff at all, stay far, far away from this one. This is about a mother who has a daughter. The father's in jail for doing terrible, unspeakable things to their daughter. He ends up getting out of jail and coming after them. They make a run for it, and they end up in this town, and supposedly there was this beast that comes into the house and murders people. So they have tours through where you can see statues of the harm that was caused by the beasts, like claw marks in their abdomens and whatever. So they end up staying in that town. The dad is still trying to follow them and find them. And then you have the story of the beast on the side. They end up meeting people there and whatever. But it's an interesting story because you have a human beast and then you have an actual beast, and kind of, you know, they run parallel to each other. It's an interesting book. I really liked it. Fucked up. Next we have A Child Alone with Strangers, Sir Philip Fracassi. I loved this one. This one was a blast. It was about a kid. It was a blast. It's about a kid who gets abducted. Jesus. It's about a kid who gets abducted and he's staying with these criminals. And they're not good people, but we also get a little bit more background on them, and we get different perspectives throughout the story, which I think gives you a little bit of insight into the characters, and you almost feel for them in certain ways. Or maybe I did, maybe I'm just fucked up. But the kid experienced a tragedy when he was younger, and so he has the ability to read people's emotions in a way that's not normal, and he uses that and connects with this beast that's living out in the woods. It's an interesting book. I really enjoyed it. Next pile. We're getting there, guys. Guys, we're almost there. Okay, next, We Used to Live Here by Marcus Clewer? I don't know. This one was a blast. I loved this book. This is about a family. They live in a house and someone knocks on the door saying that they used to live in the house before and asks if they can come in. And so they're kind of hesitant. They end up letting the family in and things are just weird. Everything's weird. It's all off. It feels weird. They're like, get these people out of here. And then from there, stranger and stranger things keep happening. I don't want to give anything away. Let me just see. That's kind of all it says. The book is so much more than that. It's weird. It's a weird, strange, interesting, fun read. I think it's one of those where it's best not knowing what to expect going in, but I had a lot of fun reading it. Next is Body Double by Tess Gerritsen, and then also Vanished by Tess Gerritsen. So these are number, I don't know, like 3, 4, or 4 or 5 in the Rizzoli and Isles series. Body Double is about... So they're about Maura Isles and Detective Rizzoli. A woman that looks like Maura Isles gets murdered outside of her house, and it turns out to be her twin sister. She didn't know she had a twin. This one, it's about a woman who goes to the morgue and they find that she's alive even though she has been in the freezer for like 10 hours. So they get her to the hospital and she wakes up and she like panics and starts holding hostages. And it's a really sad like sex trafficking story. Next up, None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. I loved this book. I love this so much. I love this so much. So this is about 2 women. One of them is a podcaster and the other one's just some random lady. They go to the same dinner restaurant on their birthday. Their birthday's the same day. They're celebrating the same age of year. And the woman who's watching the podcaster, let me find names so this isn't confusing. Alex is the podcaster. Josie is watching her and realizing like, wow, she has all these friends that love her. She's got a career and feels very envious of her because Josie has taken a very different path in life, marrying an older man and having children when she was younger. Josie approaches Alex and says, do you want to make a podcast about me? And at first Alex is like, why would I do that? But the more she hears Josie's story about marrying a man and the way that she describes things, Alex is pretty invested. So she agrees and they start getting together to film this podcast. And Alex is letting her in maybe too much and Josie is overstepping too much. And a bunch of weird stuff happens. It's a fun book. I really enjoyed this one. And you just get to learn more about Josie. Next, Rachel Harrison, So Thirsty. Loved this book. Not a big monster girl. This last Halloween, I was like, I'm gonna read some monster books. I don't typically like them. And oh my gosh, am I so glad I did. I fucking love this book. This is about 2 women. They go out. They find a group of vampires and get turned into vampires. But it's so much more than that. It's really about like just aging as a woman and being a woman in general. And she has a cool way, I mean, I talked about this in my last video, but she has a cool way of turning monsters into metaphors. And so yeah, love that one. Next up, guys, next up. Okay. We're almost there. Next up are my cozy mysteries. There are 12 of them. Same thing happens every time. There's a murder and this baker solves them. I love this book. I love going to Honey Hollow every month. It's my reprieve from life, if you will. It just gives me a little bit of, you know, a day or two of just happiness and cutesy shit and a cute little love triangle and this adorable baker in this cute town and everyone's hot and I just love it. I love it and I will not stop reading these. So yeah, that's where they are on my list. Obviously, some of them I liked more or less, but I feel like generally that's where they belong. Next up, Lucy Foley's The Midnight Feast. This is one of my favorite books that I read this year. I loved it. This is my pile of my favorites. This is about a woman who is opening up a weekend luxury getaway There's a different woman who is coming from her past and staying at the getaway and kind of watching her from afar. You have the people in town, and then you also have other people's perspective too, like her boyfriend and things like that. So you have all these alternating perspectives and you don't exactly know what's going on. There's some like folklore-y aspects that are like horror folklore in this book. The cover is absolutely beautiful. It's creepy. It's fun. It is so involved, the plot, that I think it's just a true testament to how far Lucy Foley has come as an author. Comparing this to a book like The Hunting Party, they're very different. I would say maybe not a great Audible book because we're dealing with multiple timelines and lots of characters and different perspectives and it could get confusing, but otherwise, man, I love this book. It was so good, so good. Same with Negative Space by B.R. Yeager. This is one of my favorite books that I read this year too. And yeah, this is just a weird book, and I still think about it. It's about this group of friends. We get the perspective of 3 of them, but basically everything's about this main character named Tyler. There's this new drug out on the market that makes people either see what isn't there or see what other people can't. And man, this book is so weird. There's suicides that happen in this town, and people are trying to figure out why, but it's so normal that they just go and they try to like sneak a peek at who's committed suicide. The drug makes these strings fall from your nose and eyes. It's a weird book. It's so cool. It's one of my favorites this year. Great book. Carmilla by Joseph Sheridan LaFanu. Every time I read this book, I love it more and more. This is about a woman who lives with her father. She's lonely, and they get the opportunity to take in a sick young girl by the name of Carmilla. And as soon as she comes to town, these young girls around the town start dying in a horrible manner, and they don't know what's going on. It's a really cool vampire story, and I think it's the second vampire book ever written. It predates Dracula and is said to be an inspiration for Dracula. Next, Ian McEwan's The Cement Garden. Fuck, I love this book. I love this book so much. This is about a family who lose their father and then end up losing their mother as well. And it's 4 young kids, and they're just kind of trying to make it in the world without any guidance. And they do some weird stuff. And it's again kind of like a snapshot on how each person grieves and how very different everything is. And the book is weird and it's gross and it's fun and there's so much to interpret here, and I fucking love that. That's another one. I still think about this one. The Death of Ivan Ilyich. This is by Leo Tolstoy. This is about a man who's gonna die, and he's kind of looking back on his life and looking at what matters, looking back on his job, his family, his circumstances. And again, it's just an interesting snapshot into life and death, and a cool book. I really enjoyed that one. Just randomly picked it up and it ended up being on my top list of books. Next, we have Ronald Malfi's Small Town Horror. Loved this book. This is the new one that came out in 2024. And it's about a man who is kind of forced to go back to his hometown, which he does not want any part of. He ends up meeting with his old friends, and they've all since drifted apart, and the relationships between them are very weird and off. Weird things are happening in the town, and they don't know quite what's going on. And again, it's kind of one of those stories where you just have to go in not really expecting anything, but it is definitely worth it. So fun. The ending of that one, amazing. Next, Skag Boys by Irvin Welsh. This is one of my favorite books I have ever read, ever. I love this book. It is so good. Okay, so this is about, it's the prequel to Trainspotting, even though it was written after Trainspotting by like a decade. It's before that happens. So it's kind of the kids' adolescence and how they get into drug addiction in the first place, and their kind of spiral into drug addiction. But it's funny, it's heartbreaking, it's devastating. It has all the ups and downs of life. There's some really fucked up stuff in here, and I absolutely love this book. It is one of the most impressive books that I have ever read. And one of you did DM me and tell me that another Trainspotting type book is coming out, like a Mark Renton book. And I don't know where it belongs in the series because I think there's like 5 Mark Renton books. So I don't know exactly where it is or where, I don't know. But that is coming out this year too. Last 2 books, guys. Next, The Sluts by Dennis Cooper. This is another one that I cannot stop thinking about. This is a website used for sex workers, and they're all talking about a young man named Brad, and they're obsessed with this man named Brad. And all these guys are just like, I need to find him, I need to meet him. And they leave these crazy reviews about how he's the most beautiful, amazing guy on the planet. And all of it takes place either on websites, through emails, through messages. None of it is in normal book form. So you're reading all of these things, and then they start turning kind of weird. The posts start saying like, oh, he's not that hot, or he was really creepy, or he did weird things, or he was scared of someone. And then you have someone else coming in saying, oh, Brad's living with me. And then you start to question, is this Brad or is this someone else? And you don't know, because it's all of these people online and you have no idea who's telling the truth and who's not. But it gets fucked up what Brad goes through and what other people go through and what they're doing and how hard they try to track down Brad and get involved in his life. It's so weird and creepy. There's like snuff films being mentioned in here, and some dark fucked up shit happens, but you don't know if it's true or not. And I think it's more than that. I mean, there is mention of AIDS and stuff, so I think it is more about just being gay as well, and like it has more depth than just the surface level gore is what I'm trying to say. But it is a fucked up book. It was such a blast to read. I've never read anything like that, and also interesting to read a book like that this day and age, and kind of, yeah, how you can't trust anything that's said online. It's a cool book. Next up, The Necrophiliac by Gabrielle Whipcop. This is my favorite book of the year, officially. Good job. And this is about a necrophiliac. He found out that his mother died while he was pleasuring himself, and so he's kind of mixed sexuality with death. And he also is a necrophiliac to keep people at arm's distance because of the pain that the loss of his mother caused him. So it's a really interesting look into grief as well, but it is a fucked up story about necrophilia, and there are like kids and babies and stuff being mentioned. So this will not be a book for everyone. I'm aware of that. But my two favorite things in literature, you guys know, are really fucked up stories being told really beautifully, and that is exactly what is in this book. It's dark, it's creepy, it's weird, but there's so much under the surface, the way that everything comes back around, the way that it ends, the way that it begins, and it's told through like journal format from our main character, who is the necrophiliac, so we really only get his perspective of things. It's such a cool book. I love that one, and I probably will read it sometime this year as well. There you have it, guys. Oh my gosh, we did it. Those are the books that I read in 2024. That's my rating. I've read a lot of really great stuff this year. A lot of really, really awesome books. So let me know what your guys' favorites and least favorites of the year are. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon with another horror video. Bye, guys!